Hello, December loyal viewers. Hey, I want to give a big shout out, big thank you to Charlotte and Jula, and another shout out to my good friend Modder Slipstream GT, also known as Mr. Mods. Check out his channel, folks. This is going to be another Wild Elf, perfect for the season, Wild Elf walk and rant. That's right, I'm just going to be walking around and ranting about some topics off my head, maybe related to December, maybe related to the shopping commercialism of the holiday, who knows. In 2023 December, I had a reasonable budget for Christmas. 2024, not so much. So we'll see how the new president, when he gets in office, if he'll make the next holiday a little better. But that's some time down the road, ain't it? All right, guys. But like I said, this is a December walk and rant. I'm about to start my walk, and when I get where I'm going, the walk and rant will be done there. All right, guys. I apologize first for the noise, because I'm out walking around and there's some busy traffic, it being December, of course. And here we go, folks. Lately there's been a lot of YouTubers telling people, I guess they too have been feeling the pinch of the inflation and everything. They've been telling some of the YouTubers, you know, don't overspend for the holidays and whatever. And yeah, I can see that. There's probably a lot of people that are used to going all out, and this year maybe not so much, you know. That being said, I've seen some great holiday displays, some amazing decorations people put up, and I'm glad that people, you know, they show their enthusiasm for the season. They show that they're participants in the holiday season, and that's real big for me. My two top holidays are Halloween and Christmas, and in that order, yeah. And which is interesting too, because if you check official records, for years Christmas had been overshadowing all the other holidays in what people spend. But I think it was last year or something where they noticed a previous 3 Halloweens that they were being more spent on than Christmas. Yeah, at least in the United States. For those of us viewing that don't know, this is coming from Central Florida, and on the east coast of Florida, more or less. And yeah, that's the holidays popularity-wise over here. It may differ in your area. Your mileage may vary. All right, guys. Oh, and speaking of mileage, yeah, some people will be probably buying video games, and as you know, of course, my channel is a retro gaming channel and a cosplay celebration channel. I cosplay as all kinds of iconic characters. I put a lot of effort into my cosplays. I put a lot of effort into the performances that I do with them. And I gotta say, guys, you know, some people have trouble public speaking. They have trouble going up on stage and addressing a large group of people. And that's just in a room that's about the size of a auditorium, or maybe a church audience or something. So when I go through the process, when it comes to just a simple video, I'm addressing not just a few people in my neighborhood, not just a few people in my city, not even my state. YouTube, as you know by this point, big semi truck went by. YouTube, as you know by this point, is worldwide. So when I put any of my videos out there, when I upload them, they're going potentially worldwide, and some of the replies and responses have indicated where they've actually reached. And if you are viewing any of these cool videos I've done, or even this video, and you're in another country that's not the United States, please leave a comment. Tell me what country you're commenting from. I want to know where my viewers are coming from. That's right, folks. I want to hear your voice, or at least see it in print. But yeah, so I'm a retro gaming cosplay channel, and when I do the cosplay videos, that's even more effort, because not only am I public speaking as myself, more or less, my face, my voice, my general personality, not only am I doing all that in my regular videos, but in the cosplays, whether it be a pirate or Deadpool or something else. Recently, I put up from the Halloween costume pick, when they chose the Princess Peach, I went to it. I committed to it and did it. I made a couple of good videos, a long video for the actual Halloween extravaganza, and a couple of shorts. And if you haven't benefited by seeing them yet, go back and take a look. Please comment and like, because that helps the channel get recommendation. But yeah, that's pretty much how that went. But I also recently, it's kind of a statement, a pop culture statement. People didn't like the new Disney remake of Snow White that they've been yakking about for over a year now. And rightly so, you know. The new movie changes the values of Snow White. They had a very toxic sounding person that was actually playing the part. They seemed to show a lot of cynicism and general dislike, or outright, what would you call that? It's not so much diversity, was it? They have been doing DEI content at Disney movies, but with the new Snow White, it's been like a very aggressive, it seems like they want to poo-poo on anything male or macho, and they've affected the story in a very negative way. The original movie was a classic. It was a beautifully animated movie. It had a lot of songs, and the original voice actress for Snow White, she reached vocal ranges that the women of today would probably have a very difficult time trying to replicate the performance of that original voice actress singer. And the songs are iconic, from Whistle While You Work and so on. And I think there's like 9 songs, maybe 10 songs in the original animated classic. But I'm getting away from the point here. The Zegler person was very toxic. There was some heat between her and Gal Gadot that plays the evil queen. And there were rumors that were abounding that she had been fired. There was a confirmation that Zegler had been fired, like twice. And then we start hearing that there's been these remixes of the movie, and that clips of it are coming out. And we see from the clips that have been slipping out that Zegler still is Snow White, in the clips at least. And it's really weird because they're touting, they're polishing and re-editing a movie that I'm firmly believe that the general public that knows of the original Snow White, and I'll just come out and say it right now, a couple of the better remakes that have already been done. There's been one with Charlize Theron that was the Queen, and it's worth looking at. And you can Google that, Charlize Theron as the Evil Queen versus that Snow White. Has a different title, but it's the story, and it's represented a lot more close to the mood, the spirit, the soul of the original animated movie. Kind of with a Brothers Grimm shadow to it, but overall it was done well. It's excellent compared to this train wreck, this agenda-soaked, man-hating Zegler version of Snow White is just terrible. Why would anybody want to see something like that? Why would anybody take any children or teens to something like that? It creates the image, it portrays a society that is not accurate to the one that real people, you and I, live in every day in the United States. And I don't understand why Disney is willing to waste more and more movies pushing this anti-macho, anti-male agenda. And you can look at some of the reviews of the clips that have leaked, and there's many YouTubers doing stories about it. And it's not hard to find. The moment you start searching, you'll find a few of them. And people are passionate. People are definitely passionate. They don't want the Zegler version of Snow White. And it's not just the actress portraying Snow White, although that's a big chunk of it. That's a big chunk of it. It's the attitude that the studio has taken when making this particular project. It's horrid. It's a horrible. I wouldn't go so far as to call it a complete abomination disguised as Snow White, but it sort of is. And I'm pretty certain that their box office draw, streaming service purchase, and if they have the audacity to actually put it in actual movie theaters, it will be one of the most ridiculously low movies that Disney has ever done box office wise since that Marvel movie they did, what was that called, The Elementals or whatever. And I don't know how the current CEOs of Disney in general and the sub-projects like Lucasfilm and Marvel, how they're allowed to keep their jobs at this point. They did, thankfully Disney allowed Deadpool and Wolverine to be made. And if you care about freedom of speech, then you should really care and be glad that that movie was allowed to be made perfectly in the context that it was made, because it's a sign of the freedoms that we could continue to enjoy in popular media. Popular media that's released in actual theaters, in addition to streaming services. And what people maybe it's younger generations that have grown accustomed to these newer technologies, these newer services, streaming services. You have to understand, people, that if you grew up with cable television, if you grew up with premium cable like HBO, Showtime, if you grew up watching shows that other kids did not get to see when their families had a lower income, Nickelodeon, like a lot of these kids that are grown-ups now, they take it for granted that they had Nickelodeon channel at their beck and call. A lot of us didn't. Well, now, these newer generations, they take it for granted that they have these streaming services, these online companies to watch TV shows. And they can binge watch old TV shows, often without commercial interruption, depending on their service level. Like Knight Rider, the A-Team, the genuine Knight Rider, the genuine A-Team from the 1980s, shows like Star Trek DS9 or Star Trek The Next Generation from the 90s, even though TNG did start in the mid to late 1980s. But the body of it, the majority of it's in the 90s. And if you got to watch these shows back when they were new, then a lot of these younger folks and these younger generations, the Zoomers, whatever it is, newer than the Zoomers, they don't have any concept. There's no concept in their head that these people that made these shows had to work around network censorships. There were a lot of things that these TV shows were simply not allowed to do because of policy guidelines that the networks put down on network television, broadcast television, that goes over the air. You used an antenna attached to your television in most cases. You didn't have to pay for it. Ain't that a shock? It wasn't a service. You didn't have to pay for it. You just had to point your antenna in the direction that network's channel broadcasted from to get it in nice and clear. And you would record it, not on a DVR. You would record it in that days on a cassette tape in a machine called a VCR. Yeah. Amazing stuff, ain't it? And here's the joy of a VCR. You didn't have to erase the tape to record new content in the VCR. No, you simply took the tape out and put a new one in. Yeah, you could have a video library. Oh my God, what a concept. But yeah, we had cool stuff like that back then. And there's a lot of people that still have some of these arcane and awesome machines. There's even a few YouTubers from the Zoomer generation that are showing tutorials on how to maintain, how to repair some of these classic VCRs. Isn't that astounding? Yeah, some of the newer generation does appreciate the uniqueness. Maybe to them it's more of a vintage thing, possibly. But they also know, even though they're young, even though the new generations are young, see, these big corporations, they run on something that I call, something they use that I call doofus theory. They believe that if the present market of the somewhat older, cognizant generation isn't buying their stuff anymore because they know they're getting ripped off, they start marketing to the newer ones, and they start marketing stuff that's not always the pinnacle of knowledge building, intelligent fiction or story writing. Basically, they believe these companies, these corporations believe the newer generations to be complete doofuses with an attention span less than a fly or a gnat. And that's how they shoot a lot of these shows. You'll notice a single shot on someone does not last hardly at all in today's programming. That's part of doofus theory. It's also part of doofus progeny. That's something too. Not only do they believe that their customers, the newer customers, are doofuses, but they want to keep them that way. So they shoot certain shows and staggering shot changing perspectives. They don't want you to have time to look at or appreciate the detail of this person's facial expressions, how they react to some amazing news, some bad news. They don't want that. They don't want you looking at the quality of the clothing they're wearing. They don't want you looking at the details of the electronic devices they're using. This was something similar in really old television, because props were not made very well in some of the older TV shows. Not very detailed. You could almost see the hot glue and other marks on some of these props. And it's kind of funny that some people are angry that they're not getting recognition for some of the props they built in some of the old shows. And quite frankly, looking at what some of those props look like, maybe they should be, not wanting to get recognition for that. Because it's really showcasing off what, if you have the technology now to be able to digitally freeze frame and really look at stuff on a high definition monitor, you can see just how not impressive a lot of these props actually were in some of the older shows. And I'm talking about stuff from like the mid-1970s to the 1950s. That's the era of really non-impressive props. After the 1970s, the detail level in props, TV shows used and props that movies used, actually started to markedly get really better. A lot of stuff from 75 to 89 is amazing in the detail, the level of details, the extra details. The prop makers really put in 110%, and it shows from that era, shows from 1976 to 1989, maybe even to 91. They show an involvement where prop makers started to really, care about what they're making, without the mentality that they're making something for a 3-year-old to look at. When it came to fiction shows or fantasy-based shows, a lot of these show makers, despite what the writers were writing, the show makers kept thinking it was made for like 4-year-olds or 5-year-olds or something. And I'm sure young kids did watch some of those shows, but they weren't the primary audience. It was mostly late teens and high schoolers and early 20-year-olds are probably living in their parents' basement or something watching that stuff. Those were the sci-fi geeks. That was the demographic from the last couple grades of high school to the early 15-year point after high school back in the day. Now that demographic's gotten a little older, yeah. But that was like, a demographic of guaranteed, tried and true, die-hard, totally committed geeks or nerds, as pop culture would popularize. And I'm sorry for the rant, folks, but you know this is a walking rant. And when I promise you a walking rant, I deliver. All right. And yeah, what's on your screen isn't much quality. Forgive me for that, but this is a walking rant. The walking rant is more of something to let your mind kind of, percolate. Let you come to conclusions yourself based on what I'm bringing to your attention, or stuff that you probably agree with that I'm just kind of echoing. If that's the case, hey, thumbs up to you. Great minds think alike. That's what they say. But then again, you gotta be careful with that too, because people in a devout cult, they all tend to think alike, and that's not always a great thing. I think one side of the election kind of found that out. They were stuck in that cult mind thinking, that hive mind thinking, and when they found out that most of their news sources in print and in media were basically telling them a bunch of malarkey about what the political polls were, they didn't believe it. They absolutely did not believe it until after the election results. And there were a bunch of them. They were posting reaction videos to the election, and a bunch of them were screaming and crying and just carrying on in all kinds of nonsensical ways, which actually surprised me, because there's a lot of high education, believe it or not, in that party, and then I see these people just kind of falling to pieces, because they were in such disbelief. It's like, well, of course, you were following this media stream, these news agencies that are, not just biased. Of course they're biased. The ones that they were following were ones that were deeply rooted in their party. So, negative stuff that was contrary to what they were pushing was basically not going to see the light of day on their channels, in their magazines, or on their newspaper print in a light and honest way. Instead, it was all these spin doctors and media filters. They started probably the ultimate spin campaign based on, in most cases, absolutely nothing factual, nothing solid, just a lot of rhetoric and agenda spewing. But you get to that level, and they've got that much in contributions and money coming their way, and before you know it, they're in the duck soup for real. And once they make it into a duck soup, where the penalties, where the outcomes are that gigantic in their overall magnitude, you really can't blame them too much for it. I mean, for them it was a vie for power, or a power grab to retain power, and there was so much money, so much dynamics behind all of that. And I don't want to get into the geopolitical nature of all that, or the financial ties, the financial trails, the paperwork trails for all the finance. It is so overwoven and complicated, it'll make the average person's brain pop like a peanut. But unfortunately, that's the culture that they wanted. They wanted people to be not so much average brain. Like I said, a lot of this was wrapped up in what corporations wanted. And that brings us back to the corporations with their kind of their model for their customer demographic, which was doofus theory, and keeping the younger generations to be dumb or below average, what I refer to as doofus progeny. That's basically where they, through their actions, through their projects that they have their fingers in, they have a hand in promoting media, promoting general agenda things that keep people thinking the wrong stuff about the wrong stuff, giving them a very skewed, very bent view on day-to-day events, on social interaction itself, the dynamics of how well the planet is doing. That factored in big. Green technology, all that factored in big. A lot of people, they really didn't question a lot of things because they got into such a mad fever about their support for different green organizations, green movements, like, save the whales, Greenpeace. Who doesn't want to save the whales, right? And yeah, they should be saved. They're endangered, but they would take something like that, which I would characterize as an actual genuine cause, and then they would go to like the 25th level beyond reasoning, beyond what anybody normal should ever do, and it was total zealot territory. I mean, they were like, at this point, they were like fanatical clerics of the cause, But you get to that point where your sense of reality is so delusional that you will go out and put yourself in a boat between another boat that's got like hydraulic powered harpoon shooting devices and whatnot, violating international law, crossing into other countries' waterway territories, breaking multiple, we're talking real big laws. I mean, when these people get caught, depending on what waterway they are actually in, they face unusual amounts of jail time, depending on the country that they've done these violations in the name of Greenpeace and a couple other things. And I'm no social activist or revolutionary or none of that crap. Not that that's a bad thing, but you got some people that they put their whole identities into, they're like a martyr or something, or everyone should respect them. Respect is earned. You do something that's respectful, people then respect you. You really have to earn respect. And a lot of these people, especially the younger ones, the Zoomers and whatever you call them, they don't understand that. They come from usually a very safe background, in most cases a very sheltered background, and as a result, they don't seem to really grasp the concept of getting respect, earning respect. They just think they have this sense of grand entitlement that everyone should just automatically defer to them in some respectful manner. It doesn't work that way. That's not how life works. It's not how politics works. If you get into diplomacy between countries, that's not how it works. The only time they ever get anywhere in their efforts to do any kind of diplomatic anything is when they're willing to give something that the other side actually wants. And then they want something, and then they want some sort of compromise to come between them. That's how diplomacy works. That's how it works, folks. And the thing is, at some point, these sheltered, younger generations, they start understanding after a lot of trial and error, finally what respect is. That is, the reasonable ones. The ones that have gone into a complete delusion, they don't. They lock up their minds. They become very narrow-minded. They are stubborn, unwilling to even open their mind, even to listen to evidence in front of them. And for a lot of it, I can understand parts of where it's coming from. I didn't have that sheltered upbringing. I did not grow up feeling safe and sound all the time. It was not that sort of thing. I definitely didn't have the advantages of the technologies that the generations now have when I was growing up. The digital divide was a real thing. Most of the time growing up, we didn't even have cable TV, you know. Just making sure that the rent, making sure that the food bills, all that were able to be paid. That itself was a major, heavy concern. And as a kid from that time, and you've heard of the latchkey kids, you know, that was a real thing. You get out from school, back in the day, you have a key to your house, you get off the bus, you get off the bus, you got the key to your place, and your parents or parent, depending on how you're being raised, they were out doing important stuff during the day, some type of job, career, or the pursuing of one or something. And you got back in my day, it was around like 3 o'clock, around 3:30 in some areas, but around 3 o'clock or 3:30, you get back home to your domicile, to your residence, to wherever it was, whether it was fortunate like some big houses that some kids had, or some little apartments like we often had, and you'd have a few hours to yourself actually before your parents got back. And in my case, I was mature enough at a young age, and that was due to a lot of very severe situations that we had. I do not, want any other kids to ever have to go through that, but I'm sure a lot of them still do today. And so I had to do a lot of growing up at an unusually young age. And the only plus side is it made me a little more respectful of cultures, of people, of even the prospect of learning. Maybe it kind of helped me, I don't know. But then again, the struggle of bills and whether or not you're going to be able to afford the same rental that you had 2 months ago, that was not good. Because all that is running through your mind while you're early morning at school. You're barely awake. You're thinking about all this stuff, and then you're dealing with the dynamics at school that were often, well, let's say, either neutral or very unpleasant majority of the time. So, keeping all that in mind, it's just how the rubber ball bounced. It's how life was. Is it better than the newer generations? Well, as far as keeping us grounded in the realities of the world, hell yes, it's better. I will say that right there. We were grounded because we were we knew what a budget was when we were 6 years old. We weren't like these dreamers that they got no concept of worry until they hit about 16. Even then, it's only because their parents bought them a car, and the only thing they're worried about is scratching their car. Yeah. And then maybe they're forced to get a job when they're like 17 or something. But in most cases, a lot of these are just layabouts. Me, I was working at 15, for crying out loud. A lot of these newer ones, man, they got no concept. They have curfews. That's about the only rule that they really recognized. But majority of them, nah, they got away with murder. Yeah, practically. And privilege, oh my God. The privilege list is ridiculous for the younger ones. Today, I don't know how any of them can have any sensible adulthood with the kind of upbringing they're having these days. They are being told such audacious, complete falsehoods about not how the world is, but how their parents decide the world is. And it does not mesh well in the real world once they finally get out here, once they're finally joining the workforce in some way or another. A lot of them, they're only getting jobs to prepare them for how they're going to go through college. And their parents usually will finance majority of the college, but they'll want them to get a job to show that they're have the intention to helping with their college costs, to have some belief that they're actually, maybe going to be worth something as an adult. Because at some point, even delusional parents at some point will kind of look at their kids and realize whether they got good eggs or whether they got some bad eggs. And unfortunately, because of the just massive delusional overprivilege factor that's involved in the younger generations, there's going to be a market load of bad eggs once they all start hitting 25, 26, whatever. And for a generation previous to them, that's kind of already hit. And now that's going to be social burdens on all kinds of public assistance programs, because they've been living these delusional lives. They haven't had to deal with the realities of the working class. And most of them are used to just being connected on a computer or something to the internet 24/7. They don't realize, they think that's life. It's not. Now if they had a journalism degree and they're on the computer all the time just keeping track of different information happening through the world, that's a different thing. Or if they have some actual training in technology, if they're an IT tech and they have to do some tech support online, that's an actual beneficial real world technology, something that will make them money, something that will pay their bills. But a lot of them, it's not. They don't have any of that. They don't have any of that. They're going out there, they think that if they just, say how offended they are about something, that every place will turn around and just stop what they're doing to bow to their grievance of the day or of the hour, whatever it particular is. But like I said, it's a walking rant, and I tend to get on a tangent about this stuff, and hopefully the current of the river that it's pulled us down wasn't too far from my general start of the walking rant. This walk has been a little longer than I expected, but just a last minute reminder, you know, make your kids watch some of the old TV shows, and then stop intermittently and talk to them. You know, like the same spot in the show when commercials would interrupt, you know. Give them a taste of that, you know. I myself, when I was a kid, I used to watch old reruns of the Andy Griffith Show, which were very old reruns even when I was young. And yeah, watch that show. There was actually a lot of good moral in that show. A lot of humor, but there was some good moral in that show. There's a few other shows, you could probably name them below. Similar content, similar benefit. And sorry about that, someone drove by with their music yammering. And that's the thing too, I don't want any weird behaviors out of my social media platform because someone drove by with music out of their car. You know, there has to be some new policy allowances for that. Especially when you're doing something like this, which is a real life video in an outside real life environment. I once shot a nice video of a tour of a few arcades at the beach, and YouTube had flagged it, basically made me have to take the whole video down because one, I didn't have multiple track audios on my video. Basically, if I cut off the music, I basically had to cut off all the audio, period. So all my explanation of what we were doing there wouldn't be in the video. So I had to take the whole video down. And when it comes to this video, I don't want that kind of BS happening. There needs to be a sensible policy regarding that. Because when you're in an outdoor place or a public place and something beyond your control, like a vehicle or a store using their music that they've chosen, it shouldn't affect your video because an outside place chose to use somebody's music. They've obviously paid for it to use it there. And so it's not like the music hasn't been paid for or whatever. But yeah, that's one of those things that bugs me. That's perfect for the rant. So thanks to whoever drove by with their obnoxious music coming out of their car. Because that was a point I meant to get to on a different video. But heck, I might as well throw that rant into this rant, eh? All right, guys. What was I saying? Oh, if you haven't seen my basically ironic Snow White videos, they were done out of humor. They're done out of protest against the Disney's current practices and their current version of Snow White. It's probably going to be, most likely they're going to look into it and try to they'll probably try to distance themselves from that product if it does get released, or if it goes directly to video. And that's another thing, it's likely to go directly to video. Now some people are shocked, oh, but Disney spent ridiculous money on it. That is true, but they also spent a lot of money on the Elementals, and because of the way they tried to force that on everybody, everybody kind of, you know, forced back. They forced back with their purchasing power, or in the case of what happened, lack thereof. No box office receipts, you know, or practically none. And unfortunately, that's what that current new Snow White's looking at. If they go ahead and release that or stream it, it's going to have abysmal, it'll make the Elementals look like a success by comparison. And they really took a tank on the Elementals. They lost so much money on that, it's ridiculous. And hopefully that will send some serious message to the CEO boardroom, and whoever picks the CEO, That's right. The big boss of Disney has a bigger boss, and some people out there, smart alecks, are going to say, "Oh yeah, Mickey's his boss." Yeah, it goes a little higher than Mickey Mouse, but yeah, it's true. The CEO, Disney CEO, and the Lucasfilm CEO, Miss Kennedy, they have bosses. And at some point, after all the money that's dropped, all the money profit potential too that has also dropped, when it comes to the stockholders and the major shareholders, they cannot be pleased with these things. I'm certain they're grinning ear to ear about the Deadpool Wolverine. It did amazing. And if they don't mess with it, if they don't make any special edition versions of it, it ought to do quite well. And if they give Ryan Reynolds, Jon Favreau, and anyone else associated too with the Deadpool thing, if they give them free range, they can look forward to making happy lots and lots of profit. But if they keep trying to push that agenda into stuff, they're going to see repeats of the Elementals over and over again. I'm also to understand that they had estimated the box office for Wakanda Forever to be a lot higher than what it ultimately ended up as. And if that's true, that means that they're really going to be rethinking a lot of things of that division of Marvel. The Star Wars situation, it's pretty grim. A lot of those projects have either been canceled or they've been shorted on their seasons. They've even gone so far as to tell a couple of the actors that they won't be returning for a certain season, even before it's been officialized that the season has been canceled. So that's something. But the damage has been done, both in Mandalorian, both in the Acolyte. Lots of damage done in the Kenobi series, and but I'm confident correct people behind the projects can actually resurrect the Star Wars projects, not the ones that they've currently empowered, but they can bring us back to the events that occurred after Episode 6 and put us on a keel that's more accurate to what the George Lucas format was actually going to take us to, instead of the weird agenda, the DEI, woke, they don't like anyone that looks like a dude or is a dude or whatever it is agenda. So yeah, if they put people like Favreau in charge, if they move Kennedy out of the way, just let Favreau go wild, there's even been talk of Elon being interested in Disney simply because he wants to fix the Star Wars damage. If that's true, I totally am for it. He probably has a very good intuitive understanding of the Lucasfilm, the true Lucasfilm trackway, the way it was intending to go, and the projects that he would be associated with regarding such studios would be amazing. They would be simply amazing. And during the holidays, if you can't afford to spend very much, then cut back your budget. I myself have been forced to do such, and that's what it is. I hope by next holiday I'm doing better. Who knows? You guys be great. Be good to people around you, your relatives, whoever your loved ones are. And when you get out there in the community and whatnot, yeah, you know, it's that time of year. You see some folks, they might be needing a hand. If you can, throw it in there, you know, help them out. All right, guys, this has been another successful walk and rant. I'm officially at my destination site. And like I said, if you haven't had a chance to show a couple likes and a couple good comments or cool comments, then go check out those Snow White vids I uploaded. And the Princess Peach stuff was hilarious. It took a lot of effort, and I hope you guys really appreciate that. I want you guys to go back and give them a little check, some sort of comment, and a like really helps the channel. So remember, guys, press the like. If you can press it on multiple videos, that's awesome. And thank you once again, my loyal horde of viewers, my outstanding subscribers. Catch you later, guys. Wild Elf 26.